Hey guys, my name is Jack and I am a property investor, trader, business owner, and I use this channel to help teach people, show people my life and my lessons about those particular topics, particularly around property and business. Now, in this video, I want to explain and explore the topic of finding the value or the end value of a particular property. But first, I want to quickly talk about why it's important to learn this. So, the main reason, and it's a vital reason, why it is important to work out what the end value of a property is. And what I mean by end value is a property that is done up to a really nice standard. What is it worth? AKA, what is somebody going to buy it for? The reason why it's so vital to work this out is because it is the first number that you need to work out to work back every single calculation that you do to work out whether it is a good deal or not. If you get the end value wrong, it can be absolutely detrimental to your property deals and to your business. So, say for example, you have a property and the end value of the property, when it's done up really nicely, is 150,000. And it needs £20,000 worth of work doing to it. It's not in a good state right now. And somebody's asking for £150,000 now in its current condition. You know that is a terrible deal, because if you bought that for 150, spent 20 on it, it would still just be worth 150. It's very rare that you can push through the ceiling price of a value of a property on any given street. And so to get this number right in the first place is absolutely vital. Now, here's the truth though. I want to expose exactly why the current value of a property is near impossible to find. And when I say impossible, what I mean by that is the problem you have with the current value of a property is that somebody who values a property in not great condition, actually it's a completely subjective topic. So let me explain. So the reason it's subjective is because what I value a property at and what somebody else values a property at may vary depending on their criteria, depending on their budget, depending on their values. So I'll give you an example. If you've got a house worth 150,000, once it's done up, okay, so once all the renovation's done to it, it's going to be worth 150,000 pounds, okay? If it's going to cost 20,000 pounds to do the work, so you're down to 130, does that make the property worth 130,000 pounds? Well, no. In my opinion, no. Well, okay, you also want to include your legal costs and your stamp duty, so that's an extra 5, 6, 7,000 pounds. Is it worth 123, 124? Well, you also have to factor in the profit. Do you want to get paid for the hard work of renovating the property and putting the time in to make the property nice, worth that 150? If so, great. How much profit? Because you might be happy with £15,000. I might be happy with a £20,000 profit. There might be people out there who are only happy with £30,000, £40,000 profit. So what the value of a property is very, very dependent on what the person values and what the person sees and identifies as a good deal. So that is why it's completely subjective. You can work out the value of the property, but realistically, it's going to be what you value it at as opposed to a hard and fast rule across the board. And so the only value that matters, the key value, is the end value. How do you work out what a property is worth once it's completely done up and renovated? And I'm going to explore that right now. When it comes to valuing a property, the end value of a property, you've got to think of three key things. These are the first three things that I'll ever do when it comes to working out what the end value of a property is, okay? And I'll explain those in more detail as we go on, but they are sold prices, sold subject to contract prices. Now, I've got a little tip for this. It's not as simple as it seems. But number 3 is the square meterage or the square footage of the property. As I say, I'm going to go into detail with that right now. So what I've done is I've jumped straight onto Rightmove. I've just typed in Liverpool and I've just found the first listing that's come up. And this is Moss Street in Liverpool. Now, it's guide price. I'm assuming it is, yep, auctions. So it's an auction property, okay? So the guide price, the asking price, you know, you can't really trust the guide price. It's going to go way more than 39,000. However, I'm just going to use this property as an example of working out what, and showing you what I do to find out what the end value of a property is. So let's jump straight into it. So we've got this property here. It is let's find out some information. We've got a terraced house, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Let's have a quick look at this floor plan. Okay, just gauging an idea of what the property is like, the style, the standard. As you can see here, it's not in good condition whatsoever. So it definitely needs some work doing to it. How much work? We'll work out that in a little bit. So here's what I would do. The first thing I would do is jump straight down to the bottom where it says property sale history, and I click on go to nearby sold prices. This is step number 1 in the valuation process. So you want to find out actually how much a property sold for in this area. So we've got this postcode. As soon as you click on that, it shows the postcode up here, L192NA. And we have number 5, which is a 3-bed terrace, dead easy. January 2021 is when it sold, and it sold for 140,000. Let's have a quick look at the condition. It's very, now if I jump back, actually, it's very, very similar. The outside, very, very similar style. The big bay window at the front. Big bay window at the front. It's just been clearly modernized. It looks much nicer. Yeah, there you go. Looks much, much nicer. And that is £140,000. So if I jump onto the floor plan, is it the same style of the floor plan? It's not far off. You've got a bathroom upstairs as opposed to it being downstairs. Maybe you could move the bathroom upstairs, depending on how much space you've got. So that's a good start. We've got a good start there. We've got £140,000 is what the property could be worth if we did it up to this standard. Now we need to make sure that that's definitely correct. As we go down, you can start to see we go into October 2019, go into August 2019. So these are getting a little bit old for working out the current market value. As you all know, from the end of 2019 all the way up until now, we have just had an incredible property boom. So the prices have shot up since then. So those aren't necessarily the most accurate numbers for the current market today, of what the end value of the property is. So 140 is our closest bet so far. So that's step number 1. What has sold in the area? The reason why I don't jump into here and go to a quarter of a mile distance is, as you all know, we've all seen those streets where you've got a really run-down, nasty area of properties, and then the next street is all these big multi-million-pound mansions. And so it's very difficult to get an accurate number when you do a quarter mile distance. This is exactly why I don't do the standard Zoopla thing, where people go to Zoopla and they see what the price should be or what the current market value is, because that's what Zoopla do. They just get an idea of the area and they pull it all together. What are houses, 3-bed houses, going for in this area? What if they're going for this much? It should be about that much. But it varies, which is why I keep it to a set postcode, or at least the set street itself. So I keep it to that. So let's jump back here. So that's step number 1, find the sold prices. So we've got a really good one here of let's remove that, £140,000 for a 3-bed terrace. That's very, very similar to the one we have. The next thing that I do is go to the sold subject to contract prices. This is how you can find properties that are currently on the market that have just sold. The problem with it that you'll have, as you can see, okay, so we've got one here. You can see it's a 4-bed terrace, so it's a bit bigger, and it's sold subject to contract for 150,000. You don't know if it has actually sold for 150,000. We won't know until it hits the land registry and it actually tells us how much it's sold for. Currently, all we can work out is that it was advertised for 150, and it could have gone for 160, it could have gone for 140, and anything around those numbers. We just don't know. The way that I get around this, okay, and I'm not going to do it now because all the estate agents will be closed. What I usually will do is I'll call an estate agent and I'll say to them, hello, Mr. Estate Agent, I have a property on Moss Street, Garstang, and this is the postcode L19, whatever the postcode was. I'm really looking forward to buying it. I've just bought it now, and I'm about to renovate the property to a really nice standard, and then I'm looking to sell it with you guys. How much, if I was going to sell it with you, would you think it will be able to achieve? Now, the important thing about doing this, and you've got to do it with about 3 or 4 agents in that particular area, is they will be able to give you a valuation. The best thing about it is I'll call this estate agents here. I don't know who this is, but I'll click on it just here, and we can work out who that estate agents are. I'll call them, tell them the details. I'll say I'm buying this property, or I've just bought this property. I'm about to renovate it. What do you think it would sell for? The number that they give you, they will get from the property that they have just sold on that street. Sometimes they even say, they're not supposed to, but sometimes they even disclose and say, we've actually got a 4-bed or a 3-bed property on that street that sold for asking price, and we offered we put it on the market for 150, or do you know what I mean? It even got above asking price, so it was just under asking price. So do you know what I mean? They give you a really good indication of what the property sold for that are sold subject to contract. So it's really worth doing that, because it gives you an idea of right now what a property is going for. Are they doing well? Are they not? Are they going for more than asking? Are they going for less than asking? What is the demand in the area? How many viewings did they get? Because if they've got 30 viewings on the property, well, you know that 29 of them didn't get it. So there might be 29 people interested in your property, and so on. So sold prices, sold subject to contract prices. And the last thing that I do, and this is kind of a last resort if I haven't got enough information, but I'll always do this anyway, just as a precautionary thing. What I'll do is, if I jump onto this ad here, I can, oh, actually, that's really easy. So if I zoom in, you can see that this is number 43. So number 43, Moss Street, Garston, okay? And if I get the postcode for this property, you guys will like this, you'll like it, watch. If I get the postcode here, and then I go to a website that is epcregister.com, it's a government website. Every time an EPC gets done in a property, they work out the square meterage of a property and post it on the EPC website. So it was number 43? Yeah, it was number 43. So if I scrolled all the way down and we go for number 43, here we go. We can see that this is 119 square meters, okay? Now here's the magic. This is what I do. This is what I work out. I get my calculator. Let's pull this in here so you can see it. And let's say you find out that it sold for £150,000. So we've got a house here for £150,000, and we want to divide it by the number of square meters. So we go 119, 1,260 pounds per square meter, okay? 1,260 pounds per square meter. You've got to remember that, okay? So we'll put that to one side. Now what I need to do is find out the size of the property that we are interested in buying. So let's go on Street View. So we've literally got the house next door to it as a sole comparable. This is fantastic. So it does look, is it the same size? Is it slightly bigger? We'll find out. Here we go. So we've got number 43 and we've got number 45. So if I jump back to the EPC register and we go to number 45, scroll down, 84 square meters is significantly smaller than its next door neighbour. Can we find out why? So it's a 4-bed. So in the 4-bed, they've converted the attic. So if you can convert the attic, you might be able to make this exactly the same size as this particular property, in which case the end value could be in or around £150,000. Let's assume we can't convert the loft into an extra room. And what we will do is we'll base it off of these numbers. So if we pull up our calculator again, let's jump back to the EPC register, pull up our calculator again, we know that per square metre it costs, its value is £1,260 when it's done up to a great standard. So if we times that by 84, we've got 106,000 pounds. So that would suggest that in its current, in its done up condition, fully renovated to a great standard, it would be worth about 105,000. Now, it's not hard and fast. That doesn't mean 100% it's worth 106,000. You'd probably get 110, maybe 115,000 pounds for it. But it gives you a good idea of the difference when a property is smaller as opposed to one that's bigger, even when, this is a great example, when they're next door to each other. So with that one having gone for 150,000, this one, let's say it's sold for 115,000. Okay, so if we get 115,000, that for me is a very fair and quite conservative end value on this property. I do think if you did it nicely, especially if you converted that attic, you'd really ramp the price up, ramp the value up. However, let's just assume it's 115,000, okay? So then we've got to take off, what we've got to take off, let's say it's going to cost £20,000 to do the refurb, 20, 1, 2, 3, and then we want to take off another £7,000 for legals and stamp duty. And then we've got to have the all-important profit margin in there. This is completely up to you how much you'd be happy to make on a property of this value. Property like this, I'd be happy with £20,000. So let's say £20,000. £68,000. For me, the current value of the property is £68,000. Or should I say that's what I'm happy to pay for it. Somebody who's happy with £10,000 profit might be happy to, would say that it's valued at £78,000. Somebody who wants £30,000 profit would say £58,000. Again, it's a subjective thing. What we do know is what the end value will be. Somewhere between that mark, between 115 and 100, because there's another one that sold 3-bed, £140,000. Potentially, again, if you move the bathroom upstairs, that might help. But anyway, I'm not going to get into details about that. I would say conservatively that property is worth 115 to 130,000 pounds, depending on the finish, depending on the spec. If you manage to do a bit more to it, like move the bathroom, convert the attic, you're at 150,000 pounds. And so I would pay 68,000 pounds for this property. So when you go in and you bid and you go to, what is it? To the auction house, whatever the auction house is called, underthehammer.com, and you put in an offer for this property, make sure that your costs and your offer and all the legals and everything like that come within £68,000. So I hope you guys have found that to be a helpful video. The only other thing that I would suggest, if you want to make sure that you do absolutely everything you can to be as qualified in property as possible, is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, pop a comment in the comment below. If you have any questions about this or have any other things that you do to help value a property, share it down in the comments. But again, subscribe, click the bell notification so that you don't miss an upload. And guys, I will see you in the next video. Here we go.